back to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. This is your host, Jerry. Today we're with our contestant Nell. She is on the final $1 million question. If you've been following us since the beginning, you know Nell struggled on our last question for $500,000. Will she get this question right? All right, Nell, are you ready for the final $1 million question? Who is considered the greatest art master of all time? Is it A, Andy Warhol, B, Claude Monet, C, Pablo Picasso, or D, Leonardo da Vinci?
Well, Claude Monet was born in Paris in 1840. At the age of 5, he and his family moved to Normandy. He then entered the Le Havre Secondary School of the Arts at age 15. His parents had conflicting viewpoints about his future. While his mother greatly supported his blooming interest in art, his father strongly longed for Claude to follow in his footsteps and go into the family business. The first thing he made money off of in his art career were his charcoal caricatures, which were bought by the local townspeople for 10 to 20 francs. Monet's first of many teachers was Jacques-François Orchard, who taught Monet how to draw. Eugene Boudin was credited to teaching Monet outdoor painting techniques. In 1861, he was drafted into the 1st Regiment of African Light Cavalry in Algeria for 7 years. His father offered to buy him an exemption but took back his offer after Monet refused to give up painting. During his time in Algeria, Monet composed numerous amounts of sketches of Casbah scenes, landscapes, and portraits of officers. After 2 years, another one of his family members offered to get him out of the army, but this time it was if he agreed to continue his art and attend an art class at a university. Monet really did not like how art was being taught at schools, but still became a student of Charles Glyer. This is where he and a couple other students collaborated and created revolutionary art practices that took into account the effects of light and depicting it through certain brushstroke methods.
Monet used Camille Danseau as a model before and during their marriage. They had a son together in 1867 and named him Jean. The two of them would be his main subjects for paintings to come. During the 1870s Franco-Prussian War, Monet sought security and privacy in England, where he would spend his time studying landscapers, who would later on spark Monet's modification in the study of color. After traveling a lot and jumping from city to city, he took a step further in trying to create the world as his studio by purchasing a small boat where he would paint many landscapes and portraits. He was hit by another discouraging event when his work was not accepted to be showcased in the Royal Academy exhibition, but he didn't let this stop him. After also being rejected from a conservative French society which had exhibitions at the Salon de Paris in the 1860s, Monet and other artists organized the Anonymous Society of Painters, Sculptors, and Engravers to independently showcase their artwork. Their first exhibition was held in Paris in 1874 for about a year, where Monet would present 4 oil paintings and 7 pastels. The exhibit aimed to free themselves from the strictness of the Salon de Paris.
A painting by Monet called Impressionism Sunrise was created in 1872 and depicted the Le Havre port landscape. It was showcased at an exhibit and inspired a new type of art termed Impressionism. Monet's wife Camille became very sick in 1876 and her health drastically declined after the birth of their second son Michel in 1878. She was diagnosed with cancer and eventually died a year later. Camille has been a subject of many of Monet's paintings, and this continued even after she died. He analyzed the colors of her face and painted her using oils as she lay on her deathbed. Monet composed multiple landscapes and seascapes, which he considers as campaigns to document the countryside of France during the early 1880s. Monet's garden served as a popular subject and workplace. He devoted a lot of his time and money in designing and tending to land in Giverny. This is the scenery that gave us the famous water lily paintings. It later fizzled into a collection of large-scale paintings, but at first started as vertical views with the central figure being a Japanese bridge. The series consisted of at least 250 paintings, and he created them throughout his last 30 years. You can tell that some of the paintings have a bluish tint because he was able to see ultraviolet lights that the eye would normally exclude. This was a product of his cataract surgery. In 1920, France built rooms to permanently store 8 of the water lily paintings. One of them sold for $41 million in 2008 and another for $27 million in 2014.
But before his surgery, his cataracts caused him to see in a reddish tint. While his son was serving in World War I, Monet painted a collection of weeping willow trees. These paintings were created to commemorate the French soldiers who had fallen. Monet eventually passed away a couple years later in 1926 due to lung cancer. The location of his gravesite is known, so the public can visit the greatest master of art. Monet could be seen as the leader of Impressionism. Impressionist painters intensely studied lighting effects on object, color, and juxtaposition effects of colors with each other. The time that he spent in the suburbs of Paris were crucial in developing his art skills, because it was during that time that he intensely studied the effects of lighting and reflections. Monet specifically thought in terms of colors and shapes instead of scenes and objects. He is an exceptional artist because he took the initiative to study the artwork of past painters without prompting from anyone, while introducing himself and creating bonds with younger artists. His painting series of the Saint-Lazare station emphasizes his study of steam and smoke on visibility and color. It was sometimes opaque or translucent.
Monet's study on atmospheric effects resulted in many paintings of the same scenery that were done at different hours of the day and in different lights, seasons, and weather. One specific example includes the series of haystacks that consist of 25 paintings. He worked on 10 to 12 paintings a day to capture the changing of light and season on haystacks that belonged to his neighbor. This started in the summer of 1890. Monet used the money from selling his haystack paintings to fund the construction of his water lily pond. Monet is still very relevant today. His artwork is still showcased at many museums around the world, such as the Art Institute of Chicago in Illinois, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, the Polo Museum of Art in Japan, and many more. Monet also has continuing exhibit showings, such as the one that was at the Detroit Institute of Art most recently. I have also been to visit Monet's home in Giverny. There I got to see the blue sitting room where he would spend a lot of time with his family, his first studio, the bedrooms, his vibrant yellow-colored dining room, and the blue kitchen, which was chosen to harmonize with the yellow. Monet chose the design of the house by intricately determining the colors, adding on additional wings to the building, and creating a beautiful garden landscape. Recently, Louis Vuitton announced a collaboration with the American artist Jeff Koons to create a collection titled The Masters. It includes a variety of bags and accessories to commemorate some of the greatest artists ever to live, including Claude Monet. The piece of artwork that was selected to be the central focus of Monet's section was none other than his water lilies.
You know what, Jerry? I know this one. Nell will reveal her final answer after this commercial break. And we're back. Nell, what is your final answer? My final answer is going to have to be Claude Monet. He started the Impressionism movement. He used bold brushstrokes and showed how lights can affect a person's perspective on an object or a landscape. And you know, he's just an iconic guy. He's a household name. You think artist, you think Monet.
If you want Nell to be the $1 million winner, text Monet to the number on your screen. Voting is now open and ends at 8:27.
Hurry, vote now.